What's up? It is Saturday, March 29th, 2025. Had another super busy week, super crazy. Got lots of sort of discussions and decisions that had to be made, and got a pretty big update today. Um, let's just jump in. So, stock market still in correction territory, not good. Hopefully, doesn't necessarily go any lower, and we'll see where it goes from here. Our Las Vegas long term rentals, there are no issues there. Okay, so that's a good thing. So hopefully that continues. For our property management company, the short term rentals, no real sort of issues we're navigating through. We did have some clients, we do have a couple of clients actually, where their properties aren't necessarily at the same caliber or quality, I would say, as some of our properties. Um, and so we worked with them to make some updates. And so that's good. So I think we're going to start to see an increase in revenue for some of those properties. We've made some updates to our own properties as well, specifically around changing some of the designs, some of the furniture, updating some things. So that should be good. The beginning of this year, I think the revenue is a little bit lower than it was last year. So that's something that we have to be sort of thinking through. Jazzy and I were having lots of conversations around this, but it does seem like this year should still be close to last year, which would be very good. Peak season is coming up, so we'll see how that plays out. We have a lot of bookings already in the books now, so we'll have to see if we're able to get continued high occupancy at high rates. The boutique resort, we are progressing. No real sort of hangups here. There's some things we're working through, but of course can't really share too much here. We are hoping to be able to actually remove contingencies as early as next week. That's a very good sign, right? We're still in escrow. We'll remove contingencies. Once you remove those contingencies, if you decide to pull out, then you lose your deposit. So it's a pretty big deal. Okay. A big topic that that I've been talking through is, we've been in escrow. We are in escrow on two new properties that we want to purchase that are going to be short-term rentals in the area that we live. We have decided to pull out of the second property we were in escrow on, and we are moving forward with the first property we went into escrow on. Main reason being, just couldn't get the numbers to work, and even on the one we're moving forward with, it's going to be tight. So on the second one, using the HELOC, either one of them, right? We had a HELOC on our investment property or one of our investment properties. Then we had another HELOC on our primary residence. The interest rate on the investment property is 12%. So to pull out the amount of money we needed for these properties at 12%, especially because the first house we're able to buy at 20%, but the second house we would have to put 25% down. So that's a big jump. We also have furniture from one of the houses that we sold, and we're going to be able to reuse that in the new house. But there's enough furniture to fill one house, and that's about $20,000 to $30,000 worth of furniture and design. So if we go forward to second house, not only is that a 25% down payment that's required, we would also then need to go and acquire new furniture inventory from scratch. That's an additional probably $25,000 cost. So to acquire that second house, it would be substantially more expensive, but at the same time, we'd be using a HELOC, and that HELOC interest rate is just too high. So the worry there is that we are just not going to break even, and we're not going to purchase a house, at least not now where I don't have a job, and we need cash flow. So, the original idea was it'd be good for growth, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to break even on that house, and so that doesn't make sense if we're going to have to pay out of pocket. The first one, which actually, in terms of how many properties we own just in my name, not in business, today we already have 9 mortgages. That's just in my name. That's a lot of mortgages for just me, especially now that I don't have a job to support that. This property that we are moving forward with, we should be cash flow positive on it. But here are the things that kind of stand out, right? And you can look at it as trade-offs. So on the one hand, we do have the furniture. That's good. So if we don't buy this house, then we have a lot of furniture that technically maybe wouldn't get used, although I can touch on that in a little bit. Um, so there's savings there. So it's not as expensive to go with the one house. Because it's property number 10, we will be able to move forward at 20% down, which is good. And had we bought both, the lender, I found out, would actually treat both of those as property numbers, excuse me, 11 and 11. Not necessarily number 10 and 11 because you're buying them both at the same time. Not going to get into the details there, but they wanted a higher interest rates, above 8%, and potentially bigger down payments on both. So another reason for pulling out of the second one, it actually makes the first one a little bit less expensive. So we were able to get the rate down, but still we're getting this. It's a 30-year fixed, 7.5%, 20% down. It should definitely be cash flow positive, and we'll wait and see. Although even if it doesn't do as well as what we expect it to do, there's still a good chance that it breaks even. Same question could be asked. Okay, well, why would you take a bunch of money and acquire, we call it a business or a property, an investment that doesn't actually cash flow? There's still the growth potential, right? So there's the increase in property value, right? And then at the same time, as we're renting it out, someone else is paying down the principal balance. So there is money to be made. It's just not cash in our pocket. It is going into the equity of the house. But a big reason is now that I don't have a job, we might not be able to acquire another property for some time. And because we do have the HELOCs that we can borrow against, but also I have a brokerage trading account that allows me to borrow on a margin. And the rate there is 5.75 right now. That's lower than the 10.1% of the HELOC on the primary, and of course the 12 point whatever on the investment property. We will be using the margin account to borrow, and so that will also then lower the actual operating expenses on this one house. Might be the last house we're able to buy for quite a while, so we figured it's a good time to pull the trigger here, have an additional property. And since we're not really using any of our cash to buy this, and we're still going to be able to cash flow and be positive on it, then that's one of the main reasons we're moving forward here. So we're feeling good about that. Okay, let me check. I've got a big update here. So the next item to touch on then is the job search. Okay, so lots of conversations, lots of sort of just dialogue and thinking, and I haven't really necessarily talked about this, but something that Jazzy and I have been talking about for some time is, Jazzy's always wanted a restaurant. She's always talking about it, and it seems like that's probably more of an area that's, she's a little bit more passionate about. Now, from her point of view, at least from my observations and from what I know, I think Jazzy wants to be successful, right? She wants to be successful in whatever it is that she does. And I mean, that's pretty normal, right? I want to be successful too. But she doesn't necessarily sometimes care too much about what that business is. And so today, of course, she's running a property management company, a cleaning business. If if there's a clean or a turnover that has to happen today, tomorrow, and somebody calls in sick, guess what? Jazzy will go clean that house. So might not be the most sexy sort of business. You're a business owner and then you still have to go clean a house, right? Maybe not the most fun thing, but hey, as a business owner, that's what you do. If I go get another job, I'm just going to be honest. I can't remember if I've said this or not. Like at this point, I'm not that passionate about working corporate, getting another job, having another boss, and then specifically doing recruiting. It's great. It's been a great career. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, for the longest time, I did love that career, and it was great. I just don't know that that's really where I want to go or get back into at this point in my life. So, if I do go get another job, and maybe I have to, so it's not off the table per se, but if I have to go get another job, then technically I would go back into something that maybe I'm not the most passionate about, and then maybe nights and weekends I'm daydreaming about doing something else, right? Jazzy also, while we have the business, she's also talking about restaurants all the time. And so if I get that other job, both of us would just go back to potentially where we were before, right? Thinking about what we could be doing. So after a lot of conversations, we are at, it's like 99.99% that we are essentially going to be looking into acquiring small businesses. That means I will not be getting another job. I guess we could say this is officially me retiring from the corporate workplace. So primarily, we're probably going to be focusing on restaurants since that's something that Jazzy's interested in. We've got some friends that also own restaurants. It's something that I think I could get behind, especially if I think about like, well, what are the different types of businesses I could own? There's lots of boring businesses out there, right? There's moving companies. We actually saw one for sale in Fresno. It looked pretty promising based on the cost of acquiring the business as well as the actual cash flow. We had a call with somebody, and it was a franchise. We had a call with somebody just yesterday and found out that that business actually is already sold. And so we said, okay, cool, that's fine. But I'm not going to mention the name yet, but there is another franchise. It's a restaurant. I am an investor. Jazzy and I are actually investors in one of the original stores in San Francisco. And there is a franchise opportunity in Fresno. I will be filling out the applications for that today. After I get off this call, I'm filling out the applications. You have to go through an interview process with them, right? Just because there's a business for sale or there's a franchise opportunity doesn't mean that that business necessarily wants you. There are some franchisors that probably would just say, yeah, give us the money and we'll let you do it. The one I'm talking about has a very, very reputable brand. It is restaurant and the food is award winning. The person that started this is world champion in their culinary art. And so this is definitely something I find very interesting. It's not Thai food, but we are also looking at other Asian style foods as well. And so this could literally turn into I go down the path of this franchise or another one, and then Jazzy goes down the path of some Asian style food, maybe partnering or collaborating with a couple of her friends. Of course, we would help each other, but we want to make sure that we have some sort of clear separation here where it's not just both of us jumping into the same thing at the same time, since there's other stuff that we have to attend to as well. So the timing of stuff might be a little bit different. Now, a big piece to this and what we were discussing was, okay, well, if you're going to go acquire businesses, then you probably need money. And so how do you get that? So we still have the two HELOCs, right? For the all red primary, that's the house we live in now. I've got a pretty good sizable amount there. That's liquid. From a lot of the research I've seen, that's more than enough to be able to either A, use as a very large down payment, and then you can always go and get a business loan, right? There's SBA, Small Business Administration Loan, right? Technically, those are not the most difficult to get, from my understanding. We've looked into it in the past on other businesses. It does take time, and of course, it's a loan, so you're paying somebody back. But through some research, we have come across a different solution. Let's see if I can. I got to check my notes. It's called ROBS, ROBS, and it stands for Rollover Business Startup. Rollover Business Startup, and it's ROBS. The way it works is you can use your own retirement account money to fund these businesses, right? And so that's where I'll probably spend some time on right now. This is something that is going to be super, super interesting. Anytime you're talking about retirement accounts, they're very, very heavily regulated. And so if you're trying to use that money in certain ways, you want to be very careful that you are, not doing something you shouldn't be doing, and then you get hit with, either early withdrawal penalties or some other type of fees. From reading online, there's stuff that can happen where even if you mistakenly do something that you shouldn't do, technically the IRS or the government could just say, you know what, hey, you made your decisions, this happened, we're canceling your retirement account or the portion of money you were using, and then you end up having to pay all the taxes on those retirement funds that you were hoping to save, plus penalties. So you have to be very careful. The way that ROBS works is you have to set up a C corporation. C corporation is also regulated. The difference between an LLC and S corp and a C corp is, and I'm using very, very basic sort of words here, but like with the LLC and the S corp, technically all the revenue that comes in, that could still be personal income. So I could set up an LLC, and all the revenue that goes into the LLC or an S corp that goes into the business bank account, but I can take distributions from that. So if I wanted to go on vacation, I could just take $20,000 out of the business bank account, transfer it to my account, and then we would just make sure that, hey, we still tax that as income, right? And then when we go and work with our bookkeeper CPA, right, and we file our taxes, we would show that as an owner withdrawal, right? It's not a paycheck. I'm not stealing from the business. I'm paying taxes on that, and it's an owner withdrawal, right? That is the way you're supposed to do it. With a C corp, C corps, you are not allowed to take money out of the business account. The only way that money leaves that corporation is through, if it's going to be employee based, so even me as an owner of the C corp, I would have to have a W-2 salary paycheck. That is how I get paid out. So here's how the Robs work. You set up a C corporation. Once you have that C corporation set up, you then start a 401k within that C corp, right? Then what you can do is you can take your 401k or your retirement money, and that can purchase shares of the C corp. So basically your retirement account just becomes a silent investor and owner of that C corporation. As this business or whatever business you start, and it can be many businesses, it can be multiple businesses, different types of businesses within that C corp. That C corp could be an umbrella and have multiple corporations underneath it. Once that money comes in, so if you roll over $100,000 from your retirement account into this 401k within that C corp you just created that you're the owner of, you roll over $100,000 and then you purchase a business for $100,000. That makes $50,000 a year. I could give myself a salary of $50,000 a year, so that $50,000 profit just comes straight to me. There's no leftover profit, but I don't have to pay the retirement account back. They're just a silent investor. They only get paid. You only pay the retirement account back if I sell that business. So I bought it for $100,000. 5 years from now, I sell it for $200,000. Now there's a $100,000 gain. That money needs to go back to the 401k. That's how that works. If I don't sell the businesses ever, then I never pay it back, right? Similarly to some other types of investments, when I pass on, I'm sure I can set things up in a trust. You can pass things off to the kids, and there are ways of protecting, some of this retirement funds from being taxed upon death either way. But anyways, once the money gets rolled over, I can use it. Right now it's the business money, and I can use it in any way I want. I do have a pretty sizable amount in the retirement account, so it looks like I will be able to start the C corp. I'll roll over probably, let's just say $50,000 in there. Now I have $50,000 sitting in the C corp that I can use as an earnest money deposit. I can deposit that towards the purchase of a business. I can use that to show whether it's a franchise organization or another business owner, whoever, that, hey, I've got cash liquid. Don't forget, I have easy access within 1 day to the HELOCs. So if I needed additional money to actually buy something today, I could do that with cash. That's not a problem. But the 10% or the 12% from the HELOCs, I still have to think that through, right? Does it make sense? Do I want to borrow from the HELOC versus borrow from the 401k? I will probably touch on that in another episode because that's going to get really nitty gritty into the numbers. But that is something that I will go through before I make my final decision. But let's just end it on this big update, right? I am retiring from corporate, I think, as of today, or as of whenever I made this decision, which feels like it could have been in the last few days here. And I am really hoping that that's it. I never go back to a regular job. Here we go. It's time to start picking up some businesses. Should be pretty exciting, pretty scary at the same time. But I think I've found the right way of doing this. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a lot happier running my own businesses than going back and getting another corporate job. Now, final thing, where is this going to happen? We talked about going back to the Bay. We talked about going to Fresno. I don't think in any of these episodes I've actually shared anything location-wise. other than we've got some properties in Las Vegas. Haven't shared where we live. Not sure I'm going to put that out yet. Haven't really mentioned anybody's names. That's okay. Um, but we are leaning towards Fresno. And some of the main reasons there, I think it's a lower cost of living. I think it's a lower barrier to entry. Rents could be cheaper. Just going to say it. I think some of the competition out there and with some of the other business owners or some of the other businesses might be a little bit more in my favor. You go to the Bay, everybody's technically savvy. Everybody's got deep pockets. Lots of people from tech. Not saying that that's different necessarily. There's plenty of people with deep pockets and that are super technically savvy in Fresno as well. It's a little bit closer to where we are today, where we have our business and other investments. So, recap. I'm retiring. I'm going to start acquiring businesses. Likely moving to Fresno, which then also means we are not going to be selling our primary house, but we will just fold it into our property management company, and that will become another revenue stream for us. Okay, that's a lot. I will catch you guys up next week.